My name is Margaret, and I have the absolute privilege of being the volunteer and trip coordinator with Salamta Family Project. Um, I got involved with Ethiopia about 4 years ago through my church. Actually, a church went on a mission trip and joined with them, and just absolutely fell in love with the country, fell in love with the people, and decided that I wanted to continue working in the through ministry. Through church ministry, we got to know a whole bunch of really awesome organizations, and one of them was Salamta. And we were working in orphan care, and I got to really see a really broad vision of what was going on in the country and what people were doing and what was working and what was not working. And I really fell in love with the model of Salamta. So Salamta works to take kids out of orphanages and out of the streets into a forever family model. We personally have 5 adopted kids now, and so we've seen the impact that a family has in the life of a child who's been through trauma. And we have also seen that that is necessary in the life of a child who has experienced trauma. And so when Salamta had a position open, it was honestly my dream job. I don't even feel like I work. I can't believe that the Lord has allowed me to do what I do. I get to travel to Ethiopia when there's not Corona. And I get to really be able to bring others over to see the incredible work that is happening over there. We don't need to solve the orphan crisis. They're already doing that over there. These men and women are incredible. We just get to partner alongside them as they do it.
That's great. So as the teams coordinator, how often do you get to go over to Ethiopia when it's not the middle of a pandemic?
When it is not the middle of a pandemic, I go about 4 to 5 times a year leading teams. I typically spend about 2 weeks at a time, and then I typically spend my entire summer over there.
Okay, that's great. And where do these teams come from?
All over the world, actually. Oftentimes we have churches go as a church trip, but we also have just individuals reach out to us who are interested. We recently had someone who had been an au pair to a family who had adopted from Ethiopia. She wanted to get involved and found us through an internet search, and she's from Austria. I had a volunteer from Japan. We've had volunteers from England. We had a volunteer from South Korea recently. So all over the world, people who really want to see what's going on in orphan care in Ethiopia and want to see a way to do it well.
That's great. And I love that you bring the unique perspective on teams, because the primary focus of our Auction for Africa is to raise the dollars that we send over to our partners in Africa, including Salamta. But you have a unique opportunity to also work with the people who come over and serve. And one of the biggest questions we always have for our partners is, because you may know and have heard the tension that exists in short-term missions is, oh, don't go and help, just send money. And we always ask our partners, like, is that true for your ministry? Is it better to just send dollars over, or what impact do teams really have on your ministry in Ethiopia?
Yeah, I mean, I think we absolutely want people to come over. Absolutely. So if you could come over and send money, that would be great.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I really think that short-term trips rather done well have an incredible place and a very important, necessary place in our ministry and in most ministries, honestly. The men and women on staff in Salamta in Ethiopia work incredibly hard. Our moms and our aunts work incredibly hard. They do amazing work day in and day out, and it is awesome work, but it is exhausting. And what our teams do is they go over and they love on and they encourage these incredible people who quite literally are bringing children out of brokenness and giving them a future. And we get to go over and love on them. And we get to go over and we get to spend time with our moms and our aunts, and we get to spend time with our staff, and we get to hear their stories. And I know for sure that those experiences are what or one of the many things that continues to encourage our staff, our moms, our aunts, and really allows them to continue doing what they're doing with the passion and drive that they have.
That's awesome. What I love about that is that there's not this reliance on teams, and I know our team that comes from Curtis Lake every year really understands and grasps this philosophy, and it's really important to all of the teams that we send out at Curtis Lake, but understanding that it's not about swooping in and doing something really important, big, or building something, or going in and doing something and then leaving, but it sounds like it's far more important that these teams come in and support the people who are there every single day. So the things that teams can do to care for those and love on those people so that they can continue to sustain the ministry that they participate in every day. Does that sound pretty accurate? You're
not going to be able to really do anything in orphan care nowadays, quite honestly. It's a huge problem. But speaking of Curtis Lake, I know that during this pandemic, our teams have been working overtime. And Terry actually emailed our assistant director. She's been over more times than I've been over, and they have a really great friendship. And I know that was impactful because he mentioned it to me in a meeting we were having. When I was checking in and said, "Hi, hey, how are you doing?" He's like, "Actually, I'm having a really good week. Terry Richter sent me a great email, and it really encouraged me." So those things do make a difference to our staff. And I think also what our staff in Ethiopia wants is they also want people here to be aware of what's going on over there. There are 5.5 million orphans in Ethiopia, and it's a major crisis. And most people here and around the world have no idea. So not only can you go and be an advocate, but you can go see firsthand, or not only can you go and encourage, but you go see firsthand, and you get to come back and be the advocate here. You've seen it, so now you get to share with your circle. And gradually, we are going to raise awareness, and not just in Ethiopia, but around the world, bring every child into a family.
Which I think that's a great tie-in to what we're doing through the Auction for Africa, because ultimately the goal of this is to raise dollars. And so we do send teams, and that is an important philosophy for our global outreach initiatives. But the focus of this is to raise dollars, and it's important to recognize that we send teams, that there's a connection to those two things, that when we send teams, it brings back people who can bring back stories and bring back experience, and just bring back a better understanding of what's really happening, because there's a first person account of that, so that they can come back and ultimately testify to that, as Terry and her teams have been able to do really well, so that we can communicate with those that are watching this and those that are going to be bidding on items at the auction of how important those dollars are. So I want to ask you a little bit about that. So we send teams, and we also send financial support to Salamta. Can you speak to a little bit about what the impact that the support from Curtis Lake specifically makes on the ministry in Salamta?
Yeah, so we can't do what we do. Our team can't do what they do without you guys. It's just not possible. Because of what Curtis Lake does, we have 10 children who no longer live in an orphanage, who have a family. That is what you're doing. You are literally bringing children into a family, and I can't honestly think of anything that's greater or cooler to be part of. And I have been part of Salamta for a while and working in the orphan crisis in Ethiopia for a while, and I have gone into the orphanages, and I have seen firsthand what it is like to live there. And there are not going to be words that are going to be adequate to really paint that picture for you, but I can tell you that there are approximately 3 children that die in the baby orphanage every week due to malnutrition and preventable disease. There are 85% of kids who age out of the orphanages end up on the street in prostitution or dead. And I will also tell you firsthand, I was standing with a group of young men from the boys' orphanage. They were they were about to turn 18, they were about to age out. And they were telling us what that was like. Like I said, the majority of them end up on the street. They have second, third grade education. In Ethiopia, you need at least 8th grade education to get a job. So they are really literally facing an impossible situation. And we asked them if there was one thing that we could do for you. We had a magic wand, one thing. What would it be? And we expected them to tell us we would like a job, we would like a house, we would like money. And one of the boys looked me right in the eyes. I will never forget it. And he said, all I have been praying for every single day of my life is that one person would love me. And I think that right there is what you are doing and what Salanta is doing is these children go through an entire life and they don't have a single person who loves them. And I don't even know, I can't even imagine what that does to somebody. And that's not God's plan.
Right.
So what you guys are doing is there are 10 children that live in Menelik House and have a mom. Her name is Bude, and she is unbelievable. She also has the greatest coffee ever. So if you're ever in Ethiopia, stop by for a cup.
Oh, I've heard.
Yeah, really phenomenal. But she loves them unconditionally. If they're out at college and they have boy trouble, they call their mom. If they are stuck on homework, they call their mom. They have a person. They have someone who loves them unconditionally and also who is praying for them day in and day out. And through that faithfulness, she has seen most of her children come to Christ. And that is what Curtis Lake is doing. They are giving those children a hope and a future, and they're also giving them a relationship with Christ.
Yeah. It's so easy to get caught up in all of the statistics. They're so staggering to know how many children are homeless all across the world, but even just especially in Ethiopia. And that can feel really overwhelming. And what I love about Salamta is that it really focuses in on doing just that, like changing the lives of one person at a time. And to take a small group of kids, many people might think, well, that's just 10 kids. There's so many, but those are 10 kids' lives who have been changed forever. And that's a big deal. And when we can begin to think about it from that perspective and understand that, we specifically, and it's not often with our partners that money goes specifically to that kind of minute of a cause in a ministry, but I love that that's what Curtis Lake does. It supports this house. So this house has a name. It has a mom who has a name and 10 children who have names and an auntie, and all of those people, that they're directly being supported by the generous giving at Curtis Lake. So I love the model that Salamta uses in that, because it could be easy to just open up, large scale orphanages, but really recognizing the impact that this has is it's so unique, and it's always been so impressive to me.
Yeah, and if you think about it, we're all called to the one. Our pastor tells us that all the time. And if every single church, and even just probably the state of Maine, honestly, did what Curtis Lake was doing, we wouldn't have any more orphans. So if everyone does their part, so it may not seem like this huge, massive thing, but it is. For It On and for Rediot and for Tigis and for Johannes and for all the kids in that home who have a hope and a future, believe me, it's a huge thing.
That's great. That's awesome. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with the Curtis Lake folks that are gearing up for the auction in the next couple of weeks?
I just want to express my appreciation on behalf of those kids and on that mom and our staff. It is, what you guys are doing is incredible. You are literally changing the lives of children. As I said, we have adopted, and my oldest aged out of an orphanage, and then we adopted him as an adult. So I have gotten to witness firsthand how important family is and what it can do for kids. And it is really awesome what you guys are doing for Salamta, for Menelik House, for these kids. You are providing them with a family, which is what every single child deserves. So just thank you so much for what you're doing.